So, gonna show you how we make pot calls today, because you know, a lot of folks don't realize that a $50 pot call doesn't just show up from Beijing, China, or $70 pot caller. There's an absolute ton of labor that goes into it. And I'm sure there's multiple ways to make pot calls, but I'm gonna show you our method. Russ is deer hunting today, took the day off, and he's the mastermind behind how we build our pot call. So I'm just following his system. I did not invent this. This is way above my pay grade. I've just barely been shown how to keep the machine rolling. Here we go. All right, here's step 2. Once I got all the machines running, we got to start taking off all the rough edges, shaping the pots. So this is what they look like when they come out of the blanks. They've got a rough edge at the bottom. We're gonna hit them first on the router table with a rounded bit, and then we're gonna come back and put an 8-degree chamfer on them. So follow me. So step 1 is the milling table. Step 2, we round the corners off. That allows us to build it, get it on the next router table with put an 8-degree on it, and it just makes it where that particular bit's not biting quite as much. So step 2, step 3. We put the 8-degree on it, we got to make these holes come through. So when we mill the pots, we have the bit stopped short, that way it doesn't tear out the bottom. And that's what Spike is working on right here. He's using a belt sander, and he's going to go perpendicular to the post. He's going to sand it one way, and then he's going to flip it over and sand it the other way. That way it doesn't get too thin on one side and too thick on the other. And as you can see, he's got a batch. Looks good, nice and even. From here, the next step is going to be we're going to sand the 8-degree that I put on it with the router table. So step 1 is the mill, step 2 is the router table, step 3 is the 8-degree from the router table, step 4, make the holes come through, step 5, sand the sides of the pot. The next step is to sand the sides of the pot. We're going to do that here. We'll set this jig to mimic the same 8-degree that we put on the router table. So I'm going to work these edges with the sander.
So this is the final sanding process. What we're doing here is just trying to finish out rounding all the pot calls, making them real smooth on the bottom end and the top end. So when you put it in your vest or your pockets, it doesn't grab a hold of anything and try to pull it. It makes it just feel real good in your hand. So that's what I'm basically doing here, just turning on all angles and getting out any kind of sharp edges and smoothing everything out.
Next step in the process is spraying the lacquer finish to the pots. It ensures that the weather doesn't get back to the wood stays its natural color, and it just protects it all around.
Russ has already got them sprayed and looking shiny, so the next step is, just removing any overspray or anything that's not smooth or rough spot on the call, to be glued and ready for the next step. Alright, I've got everything smooth and cleaned out, which I need it to be for my soundboard to lay on the post. In this case, it's Purple Heart, and we're going to center it up and make sure it's secure to the pot. The last process was laying the soundboard and waiting for it to cure. Now that it's cured, we're laying the playing surface.